weird
Hi
the
there.
photo looks.
Welcome back. I hope you had a good lunch, and I hope you're enjoying
Take
MIPCube.
that down.
I'm Robert Tercek. I'll be your moderator for this session, and I'm very excited about this session because we're about to introduce the new media moguls. These are the YouTube moguls. My guests this afternoon are Lisa, Donovan, and Danny Zappin, and they are the co-founders of Maker Studios. Yesterday I mentioned to you that there are a couple of really exciting companies in Los Angeles that have figured out the art of not just creating great YouTube content, but also running a business at scale on YouTube. And Maker is one of the best examples of that. So tell me a little bit about Maker Studios. I'm really curious to understand more. What's the company about? How would you describe it?
Elise?
You want to start? Well, it's a studio network
Right.
for online and specifically YouTube content.
So you're 100% exclusively focused on YouTube?
Yeah, pretty much.
We were content creators on YouTube in the very early days before Google had bought YouTube. We had moved to LA to get into the entertainment industry and had our small production company of our own, and you know, had kind of been frustrated a little bit by that system of you know, a lot of pitching and trying to get projects done or try to raise money for a project or auditioning and things like that. And so when we found YouTube, we were really excited about this kind of worldwide distribution and ability to kind of just make whatever we want and be able to reach an audience. So,
but it was back, you know, in 2005, so it was a
Right-
brand new
right
site.
around the launch of
Yeah,
YouTube.
right when they found, and Danny found it right away, and he became, you know,
It's
really
a-
obsessed with it and felt that it was going to be the future of entertainment.
And you were one of the early YouTube stars, right?
I was, yes.
You might
yes.
know Lisa as Lisa Nova.
Yes.
That's her Twitter handle too, if you want to tweet.
But yeah, and so part of, you know, when he was posting and he's like, you should start a channel, and he'd spent so much time understanding the strategy of how it works on YouTube that I was able to get an audience fairly quickly. And
So actually you were the pioneer, and then you kind of taught her how to do it, and that's what you've been doing ever since.
I was the weirdo on YouTube
obsessed.
before anyone knew what it was, and then she was like, "What are you doing on this website?" And I'm like commenting to people. I'm like, "No, these people are talking back to them." And so it was really interesting to see not only the ability to kind of post your own thing and reach a worldwide audience, but that engagement and the commenting and how the audience was so involved, which was something, you know, very different than, you know, you see on television or traditional media. So it was definitely very exciting, and for us to be able to kind of take control of what, you know, what the type of stuff we wanted to make was, and to start focusing on that. So we, like Lisa said, her channel became huge out of the gate, and she was, you know, one of the top subscribed YouTube stars in the very beginning, and we really wanted to keep growing this and making it bigger, and I think Maker Studios was born out of the kind of necessity of, you know, the amazing thing about YouTube being you do everything by yourself, but you also want to have a support system and an infrastructure, and to create a real business out of it, we knew it had to be more than just Lisa's channel or just our couple channels, that we needed to build something that could support, you know, dozens and eventually what's now hundreds of channels. So
2009 we started Maker Studios, and with just a few channels. And
what did you reached out to other YouTube stars and said, hey, why don't we join forces?
Yeah, and we moved some people across the country, and you know, moved families out
so they
to
moved to
Los Angeles. Yep,
wow,
we got
that's
some
a big
other
step.
leases, and
So that's a real commitment.
Yeah.
It stopped being a virtual thing and became real at that point.
Well, Shay Carl, who has one of the most popular, he has a daily vlog. He's done, I think, over 3 years straight doing a daily vlog. But he lived in Idaho with his wife and 3 kids at the time, and they were the first ones to kind of move to LA, and then some others moved out there, and like Kasim G, who's also a co-founder, was already kind of living in the area. So the idea was, could we create a studio infrastructure that we could share across multiple channels, and then partner with our friends on YouTube who had large audiences already to kind of share audience. So sharing production infrastructure, sharing audience, collaborating, and we created a channel called The Station in the very beginning, where it's kind of, you know, taking the individual YouTube stars and having them collaborate on a central channel, and them letting their audience know, hey, go check out this new thing. And so it was a really big hit in the beginning, and from that we started generating more revenue, and we're able to start them producing for the individual channels, and that just grew organically over time. And so like it was more of a comedy vlogger YouTube centric kind of start, and then you know, over time we moved into the video gaming and started a video gaming vertical, And
so it's like a network. You're programming channels, specific channels for audiences, and you program content in each channel.
Well, yeah, we had comedy, we have gaming, now we have lifestyle, moms, fashion and beauty, animation, music, Hispanic.
Wow, so you cover it all.
Yeah, yeah. And we have about 400 channels and
400 channels, and how many viewers across the board today?
About 650 to
yeah, we're in the
million
650 to 700 million views a month. Around 70, 80 million unique viewers per month.
And what's the distribution geographically? So you have a lot of North America, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, English-speaking countries. I mean, U.S. is about 50%, and then there's a lot in the UK, Australia. Probably about 25% of our audience is European, but we're seeing audience all over the world, so it's definitely a worldwide audience.
And that's partly because a lot of what you have is talk. It's the YouTube stars tend to talk a lot, so it's a language-dependent audience. The audience has to be language proficient.
We're primarily programming English, so it's natural that. But there's there's some of our formats that we're now translating or redoing in different languages. We have Equals 3, which is Ray William Johnson's popular, it's like one of the most popular,
the number one most subscribed channel on YouTube.
He has over 5 million subscribers. He uploads 2 videos a week, which are comedy reviews of viral videos, and they get about 5 to 6 million views each. But we've taken that same format with and translated into Spanish with a different actor, and that's doing really well. And so we're seeing like there's audiences out there in Russia or Brazil or different areas that are kind of taking our content, redubbing it and uploading it, and then we're like, hey, what are you doing? Wait, that's cool. Okay, let's just work together. And, but that saves us the money of trying to translate it ourselves.
Yeah,
but
you find out who really gets your content the best, right? It's the person who's kind of crowdsourcing it for you.
Right, and then you see what formats really are, translating worldwide, audiences. That there's just certain things that really have a global appeal that are
it's like the bootleg way of doing audience research. You discovered a new market. So why don't we take a look at some of the videos so we can show the audience what you've got, like what the channels look like today, and then we'll talk about where you're heading tomorrow.
Okay.
This is sort of an overall reel of our company and.
Okay, cool. A presentation reel.
Yeah.
Bruno, can you cue the tape for us? Thanks.
It's a little old.
Let's set it right.
Special effects, props, set dressing.
Animation director.
An actor.
Executive producer.
I'm passionate about anything having to do with new media, online video.
Content.
I'm from Mexico.
Idaho, actually.
I am an artist.
Who am I?
I make videos.
Maker. I work at Maker Studios.
I love working here.
I would say I learned everything I know here.
What do you want?
To express myself.
You don't have to wait for someone else to be creative or to be cast in something. You can just create your own project.
Help others. Questing for your dreams.
I sing, I write songs.
Constantly creating.
When I grow up. What do you want?
Oh, wait.
What are you passionate about?
Doing what you love to do.
I like to make things that get reactions from people.
Pure energy, pure creativity.
A little hope.
Changing this entertainment industry.
Maker.
My greatest fear is
Failure.
Fish. I went snorkeling one time in Hawaii. Huge mistake.
Is not to be fearless.
Buscar ser feliz en la vida.
Maker Studios is born out of the passion of empowering an individual.
I am.
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 Right on.
See you later, dudes!
That's cool. Nice reel. Right on. So today, you're advertising supporter, right? That's your business model is to work with advertisers. Now, I just had a long conversation with 3 agencies. That's where I was right before this. And they told me there's all kinds of reasons why they're hesitant to get into original video programming on the web. It's unproven. They're not sure if it's going to work. They're not sure about the metrics. How do they measure to make sure it's actually delivering on their objectives? How do you work with advertisers? How do you answer those questions for them?
Well, I mean, sorry, did you?
No, go for it.
I mean, they're buying media on there now. I mean, that's all the ads.
Yeah.
It's ad supported, and then we do brand integrations with various advertisers. But I mean, I feel that it's definitely proven in a certain way that there is a very serious audience that is watching this content.
Surely, right? Because you can get the empirical data.
Yeah.
You can say, look, here's how many people watched that clip. So you can
And
give
they're
them that data.
engaging. I mean, you see the engagement. They're
I see.
writing.
So it's
They're
more of
writing comments.
You're reaching a passionate audience. Right?
Yes.
How do you describe the audience of your shows? Like, how you're selling that audience to an advertiser. How do you describe it?
Well, it depends on what kind of content they're
Okay, so you
looking
go by
to.
content vertical?
Well, yeah. So for moms, we have a new mom network that we launched. It's the #1 network on YouTube. It's got about 20 million views.
What's it called?
The Mom's View.
Oh,
and
right.
then there's 6 individual channels. So there's different women who participate and have their own content, their own channels that we produce for. But if you're trying to reach moms, we talk about that. That there's 20 million views already on there, and this is the subscriber base. And look at the engagement, and look at how they're commenting, and they're favoriting, and they're liking, and they're tweeting about it. So
do you have an ad sales force?
We do have a sales team. Fortunately, like Lisa said, that there's ads. YouTube is selling ads. There are ads on our video regardless, but YouTube's not specifically selling our individual artists or our specific network. So, and a lot of the ads are like Google AdSense filler ads. It's not as much premium ads being sold as we'd like. So we are building our own sales team. And I think the important part of what we do is YouTube's a platform. Yeah. It's not automatic distribution. The distribution is earned and built by building a subscriber base, by building a very active, engaged social media audience, and that is the distribution. And so these people are there because they have a personal connection with the talent or the YouTube star that they're there to see. So when advertising is placed there, or there's a brand integration or something, it's very valuable, impactful impressions because it's something that is being endorsed by someone who has a really engaged audience. Who's these are the stars of YouTube, and they have
distribution.
Very
when
very
they're
loyal
buying
audience.
time, or when they're buying media around a particular personality, what they're really getting is the passion of that audience, and they might even get that particular talent to do something extra for them, right? That kind of integration.
Or they're getting the talent and their distribution and their power of distribution, that the millions of views that they're consistently getting.
Cool. And so in a second we'll talk about how you go about constructing a successful YouTube star, because I think that's going to be very interesting. But let's talk a little bit about YouTube. So the basic deal on YouTube for you guys, your evolution was you launched some content, you started really experimenting, and then you started to figure out the formula that worked, it grew, and then the advertising revenue started to roll in, and you saw, wow, this could really be a business.
I think, and I think you were passionate from the beginning, feeling that YouTube, even though there was no money, it wasn't monetized. He was like, this is going to be a place to have a business.
Right on, yeah.
So for 2 years, we were doing it where there was no monetization, and then our Lisa Nova channel is one of the first partnered channels with YouTube to receive monetization, but it was very little bit. It was a very little bit. So it took a few more years.
It's all about building audience. There's a lot of ways you can monetize. If you have an engaged large audience, there's a ton of ways you can monetize that. Obviously, advertising is one way, but we're also looking at selling merchandising and iTunes, and there's other revenue streams that can be generated that aren't completely reliant on advertising, which I think is good for us to kind of diversify and not be completely dependent. Or what we really do, we look at our individual talent channels and our owned and operated channels as brands themselves. And so when we work with brands, a lot of times brands aren't like sure about being on YouTube or the specific channel or that content. Well, we feel the same way about that brand. Like we may not want this talent to represent this brand that doesn't feel authentic or organic, or if they don't understand, to let them do it in a way that's really going to work for their audience. And so we're constantly in this balance. We're in this balance of like protecting our brands from their brands, and their brands are trying to be protected from the content that we may be doing. So it's like this tricky balancing act. But we feel that doing nothing to damage our audience or our brands is more important than making a deal necessarily, right? And so we've said no to 9 out of 10 deals that come in the door typically because the brand didn't quite understand, or they wanted them to do something, or wasn't the right kind of fit. And so it's about being smart about not doing anything to damage our brands or the audience, you know, that trust that they have with the individual. So, and I think that we're seeing brands come, you know, brands coming along and understanding that and allowing us to do things in a way that we know will work.
And by the way, that's the best way to deal with any kind of marketer or advertiser. Say, sorry, I'm not going to do what you just said because it's not right for my audience. Let me help you figure out how to talk to them in the right way. That's such brand integrity. And honestly, prior to the advent of studios like yours, that's how people kind of looked at YouTube, right? The perception generally was it's a bunch of junk. It's a bunch of random stuff. And so it was hard for an advertiser to say, well, we're going to get behind that in a big way because there was a risk for them, right? They were fearful that there'd be some crazy, unpredictable, and maybe bad thing that would have a splash over effect on their brand. So part of what you're promising is quality. You're a guarantee of quality to the advertisers. And of course, you're right, there's a balance there with the audience. So tell me, how do you go about doing that with somebody who's new? You learned this, right, as in a way, your channel was kind of like the first way to navigate this. You figured out the architecture of a web video brand. And now you teach people that. So what would you teach somebody? If you discovered a talent that you said, wow, this person's really connecting, what would you tell them?
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's somebody that's already on YouTube, that's great, because usually we talk to talent who want to be on YouTube, and we say, well, how committed are you to the space? Because to be successful, you have to be really committed. It's a full-time job, and you have to want to engage. You have to want to be there. We're not really looking for people who see it as a stepping stone to go somewhere else. So that's rule number one, is, you know, how committed are you and how engaged are you going to be with that audience? And then, you know, we try and just help them or encourage them with what they do well. So if it's somebody who already has an audience, we're going to be there to maybe help give them more production and make it easier for them, because potentially they've been shooting and editing for themselves for years. That's
that's a ton of work. You know?
That's what we were doing, you know. So it's nice to take that load off so they can be more creative and they can make more content. So potentially that's something we're going to do for them. Or we might pair them with other big talent to cross sort of pollinate their audiences and bring them new audience.
So that's one of the advantages of working with channels of yours, like a network like yours, is you've already got audience in other verticals or even in that same channel, so you can expose a new person to this audience that already exists. You can
we're trying to build audience for the talent, so we can do that in various ways.
So if a new artist, if we're signing someone who's new who doesn't have a big audience, you know, it's just like what Lisa said. I think other things are, you know, understanding consistency and format, you know, creating the right type of format and being consistent and engaging your audience. So, you know, you need to talk to them directly. Like on YouTube specifically, people subscribe to people, is what I always say, and they want to feel like they know you personally, but then they're also entertained by you, and they're much more forgiving about your entertainment if they feel like they're your friend and they're connected to you, because it's very hard on a very low budget with young talent to make a viral hit every time. You know, you really have to build a personal connection and really entertain and let them go on a journey with you. And then by taking talent that we really believe in and having them kind of collaborate with other channels and other talent we have that have large subscription bases, there's a really organic way to say, hey, go check out, you know, this new person and their channel, and then, you know, a little portion of that audience will convert, and you do that over and over, and then if they really resonate, then they'll take off on their own, and they can really kind of get traction and go from there. But it's a pretty basic kind of just collaborating, giving them the right tools, the support, production support, you know, educating them on format, and then making sure they understand that creating the video content and creating great content is only one piece of this. You have to build distribution, you have to engage in social media, you have to reply to comments, you have to do, you know, so much. I mean, we used to spend on your channel probably 80% of our time commenting and interacting and doing things that didn't even have anything to do with the actual content creation of the video. You can't just come on YouTube and put content up and expect to build a large, loyal subscription base. You may be able to put stuff up that'll, you know, do well on search over time or whatever, but if you're trying to build a big subscription base and an audience, you have to, you know, really.
I think that's true, and
approach it differently.
That's how entertainment is changing too, and what's popular content a lot of times now is really just people who feel connected to somebody.
You're absolutely right.
And that's how it's changing, and I think you see that even with the biggest mainstream stars, the Lady Gagas or whoever. It's because they're incredibly connected.
Tweet, right? If they don't tweet, they're kind of like absent from the Twitter universe.
Yeah, and so that's a huge part of what our talent does, and that's why their audiences are so potent.
Do you run into anybody who's resistant? Like, do you meet people who are like, I just don't have time to do the Twitter?
Oh, I mean, in the beginning, too, people would come in and want to, yeah, that's why that learned to be the first question. How much do you want to be on here? How engaged are you going to be? And they'd be like, well, I want to be on TV. I don't really care about this, but I think this will help. And then we'd say, okay.
Oh, so commitment is...
Yeah, commitment is...
Commitment's partly, I'm committed to serving the audience on every platform I need to be on.
They have to fully understand that building this audience that they keep, that's theirs, is so valuable. You can go be on a television show for a season or two. It gets canceled. You don't take NBC's audience with you. You don't take MTV's audience with you. You're done. You start over. Now you're trying to audition again. You have nothing. On YouTube and building your own social media and your YouTube subscribers, you may change what you're doing, or the show or the format you're doing isn't working and you change it, but like, you have that audience. That's yours to build and cultivate, to take with you, and it's an extremely valuable thing to have. And I think what we're seeing is when someone understands that, they look at it completely differently. And we are seeing like television, people from the mainstream coming that have done television and movies and things like that understand that value and want to have that control, that own distribution, that direct relationship with an audience.
And there's plenty who don't understand it and they don't want to do the work, right?
Right. And so, I mean, it's pretty easy. You can find out in 5 minutes if someone's going to be a right fit, and it's,
So you'd say the formula for success is that you're not just a producer. You got to make great content, but you also have to do kind of the audience engagement. You have to market, you have to talk to them, you have to create a conversation that might last way longer than the show that you produced. It could go on for weeks or months. But if you do that, then you have a platform to start to promote new shows and new episodes.
Yeah, and anything you want to do, like if our talent has 1 million subscribers and they're a comedy talent from doing whatever they're doing, and they want to go do stand-up comedy in the real world, they can now make a video, say, hey, I'm doing these shows in these cities, and they can tweet, and like, that's a huge marketing tool and a direct, with our music talent, same way. Like as if they're going to play a show, now suddenly you don't have to spend all this money or time marketing externally. You can just literally tweet or make one little video saying you're going to be there, and hundreds of people will show up.
So we have an audience here that are producers and TV and new media people from all over the world. What advice would you give somebody who wanted to be the maker studios in their own country? What would you tell them to do?
Come join our network. Partner with us.
Well, I think it's exciting for other parts of the world right now, because in the beginning, when we started on YouTube, there was a lot of eyeballs there, but not too many content creators. Right. So the ratio of like people watching versus original content being produced was.
So it's a very small community of content creators.
So you really could reach out and know all of them.
We all knew each other.
Okay, cool. Right.
And I think that's what's happening in other countries now. It's how it was for us 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, and the great thing about that is you have an opportunity to really cut through without too much competition yet, because there's not as many people making the videos there. So I would say get ahead. All the same stuff we're saying kind of pertains, but like move fast and get ahead, because right now in the U.S. to become a top subscribed channel, to become someone who's going to hit the most viewed list and to get to these different places, the barrier to entry is like way higher. I mean, it used to be, Lisa was in the top 20 most subscribed channels with 700 subscribers.
When we started.
Now I think there's over 50 channels with over 1 million subscribers. So to try to get to that level and that, the barrier to entry. And
I remember thinking maybe there'll be 10,000 subscribers at some point. And then we'd hit 10,000, and then be like maybe 100,000, and then it was 100,000. And
then 1 million was a big thing. And we have, Ray has over 5 million subscribers.
Yeah.
So like,
and he's the #1 most subscribed on YouTube.
So you're seeing, I think the key in other countries is to still, I think it's the same thing, engaging with an audience, being consistent, you consistently post. It is like television. If you have a show that's on every Monday night and then suddenly you're not there for a month, you're going to lose a big piece of your audience.
Right.
So
especially because they actually feel closer to you. So if you don't post, they'll comment to you, and they'll say, "Where are you? Where is this content?" Whereas on
Let's
TV,
make sure we get questions from the audience.
Yeah.
It's a little hard for us to see out there. Is there? Oh, great, right here in the front. Yeah.
Talking about commenting on YouTube, what would you suggest if you have? Thank you.
Go for it. Repeat the question.
If you have a big name that you're working for let's say it's going to be a talent, and for her image, it's not going to be good comment. Good what I mean. What would you recommend on that?
Okay, so the question, for those who couldn't hear it, the question is, if you're working with a big name talent,
like a mainstream.
You might want to
name
disable
talent.
comments,
Okay.
right?
Music, a singer.
Okay.
Yeah. And you might want to disable comments because you don't want those nasty
For hair
comments,
image, yeah.
the
Maybe,
haters
maybe.
that come and post the nasty stuff. So how do you deal with that? How do you
I
deal
would
with
say wrong place to be. You know, like
Yeah.
you need to be able
Yeah.
to comment to your fans and talk to them. And if that's bad for your image, then you shouldn't be on YouTube.
But it's probably something where the content, I don't know what the content is, but there's something that's missing, and it has to be done differently to resonate. It's hard not knowing all the details, but yeah, you want to be in a place where you're embracing the audience when you are,
Talk to them,
and you
yeah.
talk to them. So if you're disabling that, it seems immediately the core is.
Let's get another
yeah.
question. Yes, sir.
Hello. How do you protect?
We need a live mic. Thanks.
How do you protect if a star from your network wants to move, be independent, for example?
Oh, good question. Yeah, great question.
If they want to what?
If you have a star that you've grown and they've grown so big that they want to go depart and do their own thing, how do you handle that?
Well, I guess it's what kind of thing they'd want to do. I mean, we work with we work with the biggest talent, so
Has
a lot
anybody
of them
left
are.
your network yet?
Nobody's
no,
really
yeah,
left.
not
In the
really.
very
We
beginning,
haven't had that
before
problem
it
yet.
was,
Before it was, yeah.
Let's get another question.
But now-
I think the
oh.
key. I think the key is really that you know.
We help with that too. There's a lot of them that are at that place now where they want to make movies, so we're helping to do that. You know, and
Oh, so that's part of why you're
Yeah,
based in LA,
we're-
because
yeah,
you
I
can be
mean,
a launch
these-
pad. Right on.
We
Yeah,
can help them do
We
that.
can help do anything
and
you
then
want,
they typically
so-
want to keep their YouTube going
Of
anyway.
course,
So
yeah.
so
when you build something that big, nobody's just gonna. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, but when it's that powerful of an audience, you don't just say like, "Oh, we'll forget them." Like you want to keep building them. So even if there's something else they might want to be doing, either we'll help them figure out how to do that. We can help them do that, but they always want to keep that audience.
The important
being
thing,
built.
the important thing too, is because they have the support of what we're doing and helping them with the editing, and
Right.
we can help them with so much other stuff that they actually have time to go do another project.
Yeah.
You know, whereas if you're trying to do all this stuff on your own without the support of something like what we have in the infrastructure, it would be very stressful and hard to go audition or to go be in a movie for 3 months if you didn't have someone who had your back helping you get ahead of schedule or helping you take care of the YouTube portion of it. So we don't really see that as a huge risk. And actually, we're helping certain talent get into feature films and television projects. And as our studio grows, we will be creating feature films and television projects as well.
Very
So
cool.
it's not like we won't have an avenue that we're still part of or that we're actually kind of
Let's
producing.
get another question. Stuart, go ahead.
Thank you. I was going to ask where the conversation's happening other than YouTube. Are you doing much stuff with Facebook, with Twitter? Where are you seeing the conversation around these channels apart from just below the video? Or is it only on YouTube?
Yeah, a lot of them, I mean, have huge Twitter and Facebook. That just comes with the territory. This is the place for them to make their video content.
Cool. How about their own websites? Do they have blogs where they engage as well, or is it all on YouTube?
Some, yeah,
Okay.
and some of them we're helping to build, more
That's
robust websites.
Facebook's very
Another
important for
question?
sure. It's critical to the distribution too of just helping to get it out there,
Yeah.
and so keeping that alive. Facebook is very important.
They always Facebook their videos and
Yeah.
Right on.
yeah.
Let's see if there's any other questions out there. Yes, they're in the back.
Hi. How much money are these people making?
It varies a great deal. I mean, you have to get a lot of views on YouTube to make a good living. I think you probably need to be generating somewhere in the 2 to 5 million views a month range to kind of consider it a good solid living. But the top people are making very, very decent money. More than like a television who's not a star, just someone who's in a television show would make.
On a related note, let me ask you a related question. So if I were wanting to launch my own presence on YouTube, what's the advantage of working with you? Can you help me get to that number faster than me doing it on my own?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Like, how does that work?
Incredibly, like you were saying, it's incredibly saturated market. So it's
So the
nearly impossible to
cross-promotion,
even
the exposure on your platform, and the production
Yeah.
support really matter because it
well,
helps me get there faster.
Certainly. I mean, and especially that audience building.
So
I
even
mean,
if I share revenue with you, the revenue from my channel would be so much bigger than I could possibly do it on my own. That's a reason to partner with Maker.
Yeah, you
Yes.
have to believe that the audience we're going to help you build and the fact that we're going to be able to help you monetize those views better is worth the rev share, and that it's a win-win for both parties and that the partnership makes sense, right? So we are on a rev share model, but by having our own sales team and by having such a strong relationship with YouTube and being able to monetize better and our ability to drive more audience, it's a win-win almost every single time.
Super. Well, my guests today have been Danny Zappin. He's the CEO and founder of Maker Studios, and Lisa Donovan, the co-founder and executive vice president of operations. Thank you both very much for coming all the way over here to do this. It's been great to have you here.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.